Was the AFC Championship game rigged? Let's take a look. Yo ho ho, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another edition of the Dom Mafia Show. As always, your host, Dan Mitchell. Say this you're new here, I'm an avid member of the Bills Mafia, and I regularly put out videos about the Buffalo Bills and the NFL in general. Say that that's your cup of tea, I highly recommend subscribing to this channel, and as always, smashing the ever-living out of that like button. That's right, when it comes to the NFL, and especially in the playoffs, one of the huge narratives that are always circling around each and every single game is, was that game rigged? I normally see a lot of reactions on Twitter for these big games saying that the refs were in this team's pocket for the entire performance. This game sort of stood out to me. There was 3 plays that I wanted to dissect, seeing if it truly was on the refs for holding the golden child Patrick Mahomes all the way into his 3rd Super Bowl of his career. Those plays are going to be the intentional grounding from Joe Burrow, the second 3rd and 9, and then also that last unsportsmanlike conduct roughing the passer that essentially ended up securing the game for the Kansas City Chiefs last night. Very excited to dive into all of that, but before I do need to give a giant announcement. Myself and the boys of the AFC East Roundtable are starting a Madden franchise league. We are going to be having one for Xbox and one for PS5. Richie and I will be handling the PS5 league, and then TD and Tyson will be handling the Xbox league. We understand that the offseason is very grueling. We miss football, so we thought, is what not a fun way to kill some time as our teams go through the heartbreak of the offseason. So say that you're interested, feel free to DM me on Twitter or DM the AFC East Roundtable, and then we will secure your spots. Spots are filling up fast. The draft is going to be at a to-be-determined date, more than likely this week or next week, so make sure you sign up when you can. Sports entertainment, man. They've been saying for the longest time the NFL knows exactly who's going to be in the Super Bowl, and there's been a lot of fishy matchups, right? And so this year, I'm not going to lie, the Super Bowl is a little fishy. It's definitely something out of a Hollywood script. You have Andy Reid, who is the most winningest coach in Philly history, and then if he wins one more game, which is the Super Bowl against Philly, he becomes the most winningest coach for Kansas City. It's essentially his revenge tour for being fired a couple of years ago. And then some people are donning this the Kelsey Bowl. So sounds like that there's a lot of room for some positive advertisement straight out of Hollywood. But we're not talking about the Super Bowl matchup. We're talking about how the Kansas City Chiefs got there. And like I said, everyone's really thinking that this entire thing was rigged. First play I want to look at is the Joe Burrow intentional grounding. I saw a lot of Cincinnati Bengals fan on Twitter absolutely roasting the officials, getting very frustrated on that 2nd and 7 with just literally 1 minute in the 4th quarter. Now, when we pull up this replay, this is what I'm seeing from Joe Burrow. So he's getting a shit ton of pressure, and then he ends up lobbing the ball well behind the line of scrimmage and literally at one of his offensive linemen right over there. I am not seeing a single receiver within the vicinity of where this ball was intended to go. The closest one had to be about 5 to 6 yards off, and I'm going to have to say, sorry Cincinnati Bengals fans, this right here was the right call. It definitely was. I don't think that this was the refs being shady or anything along those lines. I think that this was the right call. Now, second off, we need to discuss this play right here, which is when the Chiefs essentially had 2 tries at 3rd and 9. Now, this one was the biggest head scratcher because the refs wanted to go out and say that this play was whistled dead before the snap of the ball. So when you watch this video right here, the camera doesn't pan until the ref is maybe about 3 or 4 yards into the field by itself. So there's really no telling when he started running off of the field. Maybe he had a step or 2 out. However, this is a little fishy to me. It really is. This makes you think that the Chiefs very well may have paid off the refs at some point or another, but very fishy. This didn't really end up turning into anything. It's, however, something you need to be mindful of. So last but not least, we have the death knell for the Cincinnati Bengals was that last-minute hit on Patrick Mahomes. Right over here, we see the instant replay. And honestly, I really want everyone to be as objective as possible, but you can't tell me that number 58 could not have put his arms down when Patrick Mahomes was legitimately a yard out of bounds at that point. He saw the speed, he saw the momentum, such an absolute huge game. Did Patrick Mahomes sell this? Absolutely. 110% he did, but that's part of the game. This Cincinnati Bengals guy, he deserves all of the backlash that he's getting from his teammates and everybody. He ended up fucking up on this, and that was that call. Now, before everyone starts freaking out in the comments, let me tell you what. If there was a way that both teams lost this game, I would have been happy. Okay, the Chiefs sent the Bills home last year, and the Bengals sent us home this year. So I'm just trying to give you the most objective, literal analysis I possibly can based off of what has been provided. So do me a favor, sound off in the comments. Do you think that this game was rigged? I personally don't. There's a couple bad calls, but nothing to write home about. Thank you so much for tuning in, and before I let you go, you better always remember, let's go Buffalo.